It's very dangerous.
That is what people are using to cross.
Yes.
Me can't get to pass if you go up and go on.
We're only hearing rumors that they're probably going to start something.
I hear them ball out. Gauge, you not fix the bridge.
Sometimes we felt like we were a lonely voice in the wilderness.
I said today is a day of celebration, pride, and fulfillment.
We are celebrating something much greater than a bridge. We are celebrating reconnection.
Look how beautiful this is.
That is it, boy. We got Prime Minister of Jamaica tour.
Welcome back to my channel, Brown Boss Jamaica Tours. Yes, my people, so we're back at it again with another video. In this video, we're taking a chronological journey through one of rural Jamaica's most important infrastructure projects, the reconstruction of the Troy Bridge in southern Trelawny. This bridge has served as a critical connection between Trelawny, Manchester, and nearby communities for over 1.5 centuries. After its devastating collapse in 2021, residents waited nearly 5 years for a permanent replacement. In this video, we'll explore the entire story from disaster to reopening, so stay tuned guys, a whole lot to be shown.
We're on practically the borderline between Manchester and Trelawny. The bridge is what separates Manchester from Trelawny. Never even have steel in it, so it wasn't really built to carry trucks and cars. It was, in those it was horse and buggies, you understand?
You say it's breakdown. Tell me what happened to it.
Well, it's just collapsed. A lucky thing no one was on it, you know, right after a big truck passed over.
Water.
Yeah, water been soaking underneath the foundation. So
dig it foot at the bridge out.
And it wasn't built with any steel or nothing like that. You understand? So I'm mostly concerned about like the people who have to go to work. There's teachers, students. There's 3 schools out there. What I tried: primary, basic school, and high school. You know, so the students them are. You know, they are very fearful of crossing. Their parents won't allow them. So, and then you have a lot of people going to the market even early in the morning, and sometimes the river is coming down. You understand? And you still have to cross. Right now, there's only some debris that the river carried down that the people have used for crossover, like a tree branch and some bamboo. It's very dangerous.
That is what people are using to cross.
Yes, bamboo and a little tree branch.
So what happens when the river comes down?
Well, when it comes down, we have to ease back a bit. You know? Those who get trapped in Troy have to sleep over there. You know, and those who want to go there have to stay over here. You know, so. Are
there any other routes to the community?
No. If you want to, the other route is just Mile Gully, which is a lot of ways, a lot of miles. You know, Mile Gully, and then you have to go Craig, and then you know, so it's a big.
Any work have started on it since?
We're only hearing rumors that they're probably going to start some temporary bridge in January, but that's just a bag of rumors. You know, we don't see nothing, no solid foundation put down or no relevant. We see real officials come through. You know, just some what you call them MPs and things. You know, we need some men with some money and power. You know, like even the Prime Minister himself. We're asking him if he could do something for us. You know, cause we don't have to go block the road.
How has the collapsed bridge been affecting you?
It affect me bad man. Me can't get to pass if you go up and go on. I'm stick can't come over on free side. Me about one teeth if you go pull down a ball, me can't go. For money if you grown, you have to, you know, easy. And one bus there we are go through every man we drive St. Paul, me like go through and go quick, little less of fear and little thing there. But seeing the bridge, everything just collapse, we can't get to move.
It's hard, no? As you can see, because we have to use one bike, transfer goods come this side, then we have to go up on the other side and pull them across in the crate and something. So it's difficult. And even before this, we have to walk down in the river with them and stuff.
That's when it's not raining.
Yeah.
When the river is not.
When no rain fall and the river low, we walk down there. But we have a next route around that side, but it's too far.
How far is it?
Well, you have to go at least about 8 to 10 miles before you can reach the other side. So it's difficult, man.
A tree column in a tree foot underneath the bridge, you know. And one guy with the cigar, you know. So you see next one in the middle, so where the water dig out, so the river come down. If you can't dig out the dirt from underneath it, you can expect the next little part to go down. All right, look over this, Bill. What's the road now? I just a mile and a little bit of asphalt. You see it? If you over this, so I look back on this side, you know, stand up out the side. You understand? Yeah, because right now, I pay loose stuff them. Them no mixed material. No iron, no night or nothing. So this is a bridge of the overtime.
Yeah, for the edge right there, so it break off. It constantly break off. As you can see, it just constantly break off. So we can't come out on the edge too much when time we take off with something with them cards. So we break off with it. It's basically it is a trap right now.
What do you say? I have to go take a taxi. I feel the funny. When the river low, because when the rain fall up, and the river come down, you can't walk in it. People still walking there, running risk and tip out on thing and go crash, but it's serious.
Member of Parliament for North West Manchester, Michael Phillips, says the government may have to find more money to fix the Troy Bridge along the Manchester-Trelawny border. Now, the bridge collapsed in 2021 and has forced residents to use makeshift structures to get to their destinations and now raises concerns about safety while crossing the Hectors River.
Madam Speaker, when I look at the bridge last week, the 170 million preliminary costs that National Works Agency have spoken about is going to be more, because the river training that now has to be done because of how the river has now taken away the banking of the river bank of the land area. It is even more a risk and a threat to the adjoining communities.
In the meantime, Mr. Phillips is calling for an overhaul to governance structure for members of parliament. He says their role has been limited, for example, debushing and fixing roadways.
If we had a system that is better financed and constructed for routine maintenance on our roadways, with scheduled debushing programs and a consistent check on quality assurance for work performed, this would certainly make our people better off. But the system that is now in place is one where some of us are at the mercy of government ministers. Yes. And if that minister does not find favor in you, dog, nyam your supper.
See what I want, the rat no goatee. You rock out.
We're here at the site of the new Troy Bridge. Here we are in the process of reconstructing this bridge that failed in 2021 during the passage of Tropical Storm Sandy. Now, contract is in place. The contract is valued at some $234 million. We expect that the new structure will be delivered in about 7 months. So by summer of next year, we expect that a new structure will be here. The process to constructing this new bridge involves the driving of piles, and the pile driving exercise is now taking place. We are going to be putting up a triple cell box culvert, and so that will require as well some amount of fabrication being done in terms of steel work. We are going to be pouring concrete. We are going to be doing a bit of river training as well to ensure that the channel stays within a defined area, so that we don't get a situation where the structure is compromised or undermined in any way, shape or form.
Yes, my people. So this all started when one of my subscribers made a post on one of my old videos requesting for me to do a coverage of the Troy Bridge reconstruction. However, it was very far from our location as we are from the Montego Bay area. Nonetheless, one day we decided to go on the journey. Please be reminded that we made 2 trips to Troy and you can see those videos on my channel. The first one was back in October 15, 2025, just shortly before the historic Category 5 Hurricane Melissa, and that was the longer route. From Janzal St. James straight to Troy, Trelawny. So I decided to take that route to give you a scenic tour. We ventured through a number of parishes like St. James, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, and finally Trelawny. And the map said that it was a 3-hour journey, but the roads were very bumpy at certain points, so it seemed as if it took a longer time. This was my very first time viewing the reconstruction of the bridge here in Troy, and as you can see, they made a temporary bridge for the residents to use while work is being carried out on the main bridge. The original historic Troy Bridge linking Trelawny and Manchester was built in 1869 by the colonial government, long before cars and trucks were introduced in Jamaica. It stood for over 152 years until it collapsed in August 2021 from the passage of Tropical Storm Grace. A new replacement bridge was proposed, and it took over 5 years to be completed as there were many delays and even accidents along the way. The cost of the entire project had to be revamped based on the increasing cost of material, labor, and other factors over the years. It finally totaled over $230 million for the replacement bridge, which was officially open on June 5th, 2026. So I'm going to show you my second trip to Troy to reveal the new bridge design from an aerial perspective, and then later in the video I'll show you some footage from the official opening ceremony, so you don't want to miss that part. Yes guys, so this was our second time going to Troy, and we took the shorter route, which was from Duncan's Trelawny straight to Troy Trelawny. Even though the map said it was over 1.5 hours away, it took way longer because some of the roads were really bad, especially when we were driving out of Clarkstown to Jacksontown. There were some major potholes, and also from Warsop to Troy was even worse. Nonetheless, we took on the journey and saw some very beautiful scenic views of the countryside and the mountain vistas. We went through a number of areas like Duncan's, Clarkstown, Jacksontown, Sawyers, Alps, Ulster Spring, Albertown, Spring Garden, Warsop, and Troy. You can see the full driving tour on my secondary channel, Brown Boss Moments. Stay tuned for the official Troy Bridge opening ceremony, and you will see some magnificent drone views of the new bridge. Don't go anywhere, my people. Anglican Church in a Troy.
The reopening of the Troy Bridge stands as a tangible demonstration of the government's commitment to improving the lives of Jamaicans through strategic infrastructure investment. It reflects our determination to build stronger, safer, and more resilient communities while creating the conditions necessary for economic growth and national development. The bridge is part of our broader vision to modernize Jamaica's infrastructure and ensure that our roads, bridges, housing developments, water systems, and other critical assets can withstand the challenges posed by a changing climate while supporting the needs of a growing economy.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to bring greetings on this very important occasion as we celebrate the official opening of the Troy Bridge. Today represents much more than the completion of a construction project. It is the restoration of a vital link that connects families, facilitates access to essential services, and strengthens the daily lives of the people who depend on this roadway. When the bridge collapsed, it created significant challenges for residents, commuters, farmers, students, and business operators. And please remember, and teachers, yes. And please remember that I live in this little district. I was born here. And when this bridge collapsed, many times you hear the people passing my place, Prime Minister, and you hear them bawl out, Gauger, you now fix the bridge. so I am more than happy.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be hearing from Mr. Michael Phillips, Member of Parliament, Manchester North Western.
Most Honourable Prime Minister, Custos, Gentles, Minister Morgan, my colleague, Member of Parliament, Mercer Dalrymple Filbert, His Worship the Mayor, Colin Gauger, and also I'd like to recognize Deputy Mayor for Mandeville and the Councillor for the Mile Gully Division, Rohan Kennedy. Madam Pierce and the team from the National Works Agency, students from Troy Primary High School, as the head boy and head girl from Troy, and we also have some students here from Mile Gully High School, residents from North Trelawny, South Trelawny, and my constituents from across the bridge from northwest Manchester. You know, I said to the Pierce when she sat down that she put the rest of us speakers under pressure, because I doubt that anyone that is following her can't sing like she did. But the bridge was a long time coming. It was a long time coming. And the bridge, this bridge, Troy Bridge, is an example of how, even though we are on two different political sides, that our voices can come together. That is mine and Member of Parliament Dalrymple Filbert, in making a louder noise in ensuring that both South Trelawny and Northwest Manchester can once more be connected. Sometimes we felt like we were a lonely voice in the wilderness. But I have to also, even though we have had many of tension spat, Sir Prime Minister, it did not change course. And the Prime Minister saw the importance, and the team from the National Works Agency saw the importance of ensuring that the Troy Bridge was reconstructed. Next month, well, August would make 5 years, but it's a better late than never. Manchester Prime Minister was more affected in this instance because we had students who live on this side, who went to Troy, who had to be relocated to other schools. I mean, I never lose my life crossing the bridge one day. Fell crossing the bridge. We had teachers who teach at Troy, who live over on the Manchester side, who had to relocate, leaving their residence over on that side, renting houses on this side. So there was displacement on both sides. I was in the area a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, seeing persons, market vendors, crossing the bridge now, heading towards Santa Cruz, heading to Westmoreland. So it is a connection not only for farmers, for students, but also for tourists. Even while coming here, I saw a tour bus going down, heading to Appleton, driving this route. So it is an important connection between North and South. So I want to say to the Prime Minister, Minister Morgan, on behalf of the residents from Northwest Manchester, Because as I have been explaining to Minister Morgan, when you cross the bridge on that side, you're back in northwest Manchester. Bottom Shudley, right? Golden Run, right? And that's what I'm going to touch on right now, right? But I want to, since Minister Morgan will be speaking in Parliament in another few weeks, to remember deep rural Jamaica on our roads. Kingston is not Jamaica alone. Mandeville is not Manchester alone. Falmouth is not Trelawny alone. Remember us in deep rural Jamaica whenever you're crafting that road program. Because we want some of it too. But I will not make the roads take away from the greater issue that today we are officially opening the Troy Bridge, which has now connected the two constituencies together and connecting residents from where we once came from. So, Prime Minister, I want to, again, on behalf of my constituents, to say thank you to yourself and your administration for ensuring that a promise that was made, a promise kept, and now we're here in officially opening the Troy Bridge. May God continue to bless you. Thank you.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I invite to the lectern the Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Filbert, Minister of State in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs and Member of Parliament for Trelawny Southern.
Good morning, everybody. Usually, I would say the protocol has been established, but this is such a wonderful and fabulous morning here that you will indulge me if I don't say that and go through and mention people who I would like to mention, especially this morning. I welcome everybody who is here this morning, because today is a day of celebration, of pride and fulfillment. I said today is a day of celebration, pride and fulfillment, as we gather to witness the opening of the Troy Bridge, a project so many of us have waited for so long. This bridge represents, as my colleague said, more than just concrete, steel and engineering excellence. It represents our Prime Minister and the government's unwavering commitment to improving the lives of our people through strategic investments in infrastructure. And I want to pause and especially thank our Minister, the Honourable Robert Morgan, and his team for not just coming here for the opening, but for being here on so many occasions when there are no cameras, nobody around, just to check and ensure that the project was going well. Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure you know that the Prime Minister knows only too well that the only reward for good work is more work. Because he has done good work. That's why he's still here as our Prime Minister. So, once again, thank you, sir. And Minister Morgan, I know you're sitting close beside him. So I know you have done good work for us. And as I said, the only thing for you is more work. So we look forward to more visits from you as you travel through to see the state of the roads that Melissa has ravaged in its passage a few months ago. For some while now, and it's important, and I know my friend and colleague said, it's been a long time coming. But listen to me now. For some time now, the cries were loud and sometimes very unkind in the call for a new bridge. But I want all of us to recognize our government recognize that to simply replace a bridge quickly to appease the call and the cries of many was not the answer. Our government recognized that and continues to impress upon us that infrastructure is the foundation on which prosperous nations are built. And the construction of this Troy Bridge is a part of a broader vision. And I stand here to say I am proud that it is so. And it is backed by the recently passed NARA Act, which will help to create resilient infrastructure that will serve not only the needs of us standing here today, but the demands of future generations, our children and our children to come. So we are opening a bridge today, not just a bridge. It is a first world, first-class bridge. We understand that quality infrastructure of this nature requires long-term planning, sound engineering, responsible investment, and careful supervision. And that, as I have said, and I can't repeat it too often, was done by the Minister, Robert Morgan, in his several visits to this area. The completion of this project also demonstrates what can be achieved when a government remains focused despite several outcries. You know, as parents, the children come and ask every day, Mama, me want this school bag, me now wear this one, or me want these shoes, because me want that, me now. And your parents stops and stop, because guess what? They don't just want to buy any shoes or school bag. They want to plan and make sure that what you get is good, will last for time. So despite the challenges, the rising costs and unforeseen obstacles, including a Category 5 hurricane, our government has remained committed to seeing this project through to completion, because this government understands the importance of the bridge to the people of this area and the surrounding areas.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to welcome to the lectern the Honorable Robert Nestor Morgan, Minister with Responsibility for Works.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to first recognize the protocols that have been established, but I want to acknowledge the teams from the National Works Agency, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, the contractor, the engineers, the community leaders, the clergy, but most importantly, Mrs. Filbert, Mile Gully High, Wassop Primary, Troy High, Wilson Run Primary and Infant, the residents of South Trelawny and Northwest Manchester, and Troy Primary as well. You are the ones who have had to deal with the challenges of the absence of this bridge over the last 5 years. I have been here several times, Prime Minister, and every time I come, I heard the stories of the students, of the teachers, of the principal, of the business people who have had to journey long miles to carry out their business and to get their education. So it's a real pleasure here for me today to be at the official opening of this bridge. And this is, to me, not simply the opening of a bridge. It's the restoration of a vital connection. It is the return of an easier movement for families, farmers, students, workers, taxi operators, business operators, emergency services, and all those who depend on this corridor on a daily basis. Today, we are not just marking the completion of a project. We're reconnecting communities and restoring access. And more importantly, we have built a bridge that is built to last. When we signed the contract, we had Beryl. When we started building, we had Raphael. And just as we finished building the bridge, it was tested by Melissa. Prime Minister, the two sides of the bridge were washed out, but the bridge, like a pillar of excellence, stood in the middle of the river, could not be moved. When Prime Minister said, Minister, this bridge must stand the test of time and it must be built for resilience, we transferred that policy direction to Mr. Hunter and Mr. Downer, who ensured that the contractor understood in the designs that this bridge will last at least another 150 years. So it's not just a repair for today, it's an investment of your tax dollars by your government for tomorrow, for future generations. This bridge will outlast most of us sitting in this room today. I want to thank the residents for your patience and your resilience, as I know that the works at times were inconvenient. But the bridge is not just the bridge standing by itself. The bridge is a symbol of the approach of your government in relation to infrastructure works. Jamaica has about 875 bridges that are controlled and managed by the National Works Agency. Most of these bridges were built decades ago. Some were built over a century ago, in the colonial period and after. Today they face heavier traffic, stronger rainfall events, flooding, river erosion, and a growing reality of climate change. Cabinet on Monday of last week approved the Accelerated Bridge Project, which is a major bridge replacement project which will replace over 50 bridges in Jamaica over the next 2.5 years. I put it to the people in this audience that no other government, no other Prime Minister, no other Minister of Works has ever built 55 bridges at one time in the history of Jamaica. This is your government at work.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, immense pleasure, to welcome at this time to the lectern your Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, the Minister of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You will forgive me if I do not regurgitate the very prominent list of persons who are here gathered to celebrate the opening of this bridge. And I'm sure you will all feel dignified and acknowledged when I say it's good to see you all nice and decent people. Today we gather to celebrate the opening of a bridge, but in truth, we are celebrating something much greater than a bridge. We are celebrating reconnection. We are celebrating resilience. We are celebrating the triumph of persistence over delay. For the people of this area, the Troy Bridge is not simply a physical structure. It is part of the history of this community and part of the story of Jamaica itself. The original bridge was built in 1869. 1869. Pause for a moment and consider what that means. It could mean that your great-great-great-grandparent would have walked across that bridge when it was just built, or maybe even helped to build it. This bridge stood before the arrival of motor vehicles in Jamaica, so this bridge was built to carry donkey cart. But for 152 years, and in the last 60 of those 152 years, it would have carried some heavy-duty trucks. It stood before electricity reached here. It stood through generations of change, connecting families, farmers, merchants, churches, schools, communities, right across the parishes of Manchester and Trelawny. It took us almost 5 years to build a replacement bridge. The bridge that was first built wasn't built to carry lorries and heavy-duty trucks and the high volume of traffic, but it lasted for 152 years. It would have seen Hurricane Charlie, Hurricane Ivan, all the hurricanes. It was built by virtue of a national thrust directed by the colonial government. And we, independent people, struggle internally to deliver infrastructure quickly. This speech is not just for you. It is for all Jamaica listening. This bridge, it is not only for the benefit of Troy, the area around, the communities around. This bridge is a lesson to Jamaica. Like much of our infrastructure, people scarcely noticed it when it was working. But when Tropical Storm Grace destroyed the bridge in 2021, everyone suddenly understood its value. The closure of this crossing did not simply create great inconvenience, it disrupted lives. Students had to travel long distances to school. Farmers incurred higher transportation costs to move their produce to market. And by the way, the idea behind this bridge was to open up what was called the Yam Belt in Trelawny, to move the yams through this bridge, through Manchester, to carry you into Kingston to get connected to the ports. So the infrastructure supported an economic plan. It is quite unfortunate that somehow our governments, successive governments, have not seemed to have the ability to effect infrastructure plans that support economic plans and social development. Think about it. This is an infrastructure, before it was destroyed and replaced, that we relied on for 152 years. The destruction of this bridge reminded us of a simple truth. Infrastructure is not merely concrete and steel. Infrastructure is opportunity made real, opportunity materialized, opportunity accessible. Infrastructure is productivity made possible. Throughout history, the great civilizations of the world understood this principle. The Romans built roads and bridges not as monuments, but as instruments of commerce, administration, and national cohesion. Across every successful nation, transportation networks have reduced distance, expanded opportunity, and created prosperity. Jamaica's development must follow that same path. The roads, bridges, railways, ports that were built during the 19th and 20th century connected our people to markets, connected communities to each other, and connected the nation to economic opportunity. The Troy Bridge belongs to that proud tradition. But at this point, the nation should consider that much of our infrastructure that we have today was generated from that era of infrastructure rapid growth planning. That infrastructure is now aged. It has outlived its useful and engineered life. It is very difficult to communicate that thought to the average person coming on the road to get here, which is pothole-filled and bumpy, difficult to maneuver and in sections collapsing. All you want to hear is how we're going to replace that road and why is the road bad, without necessarily appreciating the context behind this. As a member of parliament, I not just sympathize, I empathize, I understand, because there are some times when I wish I could complain to somebody too. So it is a matter of passing it on to the Prime Minister when the pressure from the citizens reach you to say I've brought it to a higher authority to get these roads repaired. But I want you to bear in mind that we are not going to be able to repair overnight the 20,000 kilometers of roadways that we have, much of which was built over 100 years ago. So the road is not only bad because the contractor didn't fix it properly, which is oftentimes a reality that we face and cannot be excused. The road isn't only bad because water intrusion or other weather events. The road is bad because it is old and it was not properly maintained. But even roads that are properly maintained, there is just a time where no matter how much you maintain it, the road has to be totally redone, which is why we have the Spark program. A lot of people said to us when we were doing the Spark program, why not just take the money and patch the road? That was said even by some of our own MPs, because you see, they don't understand the problem. Every year, Minister Morgan will tell you, he comes to me pleading for more money to do patching. And every year we are patching. Sometimes we are patching the patch that we patched. And yes, we have to patch it because of the convenience that you need. But you also have to understand that we have to be thinking, how do we now start to replace these aged infrastructure, these old roads that we have, how do we rebuild them? And that's what the Spark program is designed to do. We are literally not just patching and resurfacing, we are rehabilitating. So the course is there. Thank God we're not going to have to create new alignments, but we have to, yes, my dear, we're not changing that course. But we're going to have to take off the top surface. We're going to sometime have to go to subsurface. We're going to have to put in new drains. And as we take off the top surface and the subsurface, sometimes the pipes that are underneath there are old. We have to change them. That is all about rehabilitation. So the Spark program is designed to address this business of aged infrastructure, old infrastructure, to bring them to the modern standards that will give us several generations of roadways that will last. So today we are happy for this bridge. And it's not just the restoration of connection, it's the restoration of dignity. When I saw the first news clips of the kids trying to cross it, some with rope, some wading in the water, I just felt very sad about the whole situation and said this is not what Jamaica is about. And today we are restoring the dignity of the people around the area who rely on the bridge. It also restores the confidence of the people because, sometimes as I could have picked it up from the very rousing applause when, I don't remember who said it, you must not forget the rural communities. I think it's Mikhail who said it, and endorsed by Minister Morgan, claiming his rural heritage. Because there are oftentimes rural communities feel forgotten. It's a loss of dignity, a loss of respect, a loss of confidence. And let me assure you, your government does not forget the rural communities. What the government is trying hard to do is to rapidly integrate the rural communities into the nerve centers of economic activities. And that means ensuring that you have proper roads to be able to connect. So you can move from here to Kingston, here to Falmouth, here to Montego Bay very quickly. You can choose to live here and choose to work elsewhere. You can move your goods from here to the markets where they will be sold quickly. That's the idea. So we're not forgetting rural communities. And the $230 million spent here is a symbol that you are top of mind and not forgotten. But many Jamaicans have asked a legitimate question over the years. If everyone agreed that the bridge was needed, why did it take so long? It puzzled me too as your Prime Minister, because the then Speaker of the House, who was the Member of Parliament for one side of the bridge, took an unusual privilege in Parliament as Speaker to raise the concern, and I was about to write her a note to say that this was not usual protocol for speakers to use their chair to raise their constituency matters. But before I could pen the note, the Member of Parliament for the other side, Mikhail Philip, stood up and raised the issue as well. So there was a bipartisan agreement that the Troy Bridge must be fixed. But there is such a thing as procedure. I have been using the term bureaucracy. The answer lies, the question deserves an honest answer, right? And the answer lies in the systems governments use to ensure that public funds are spent responsibly. Over many decades, countries around the world learned difficult lessons about poorly planned projects. Bridges were built without proper designs, roads were approved without adequate engineering studies, costs were underestimated, budgets were exceeded, projects were started sometimes even without financing, and taxpayers ultimately paid the price. To prevent those mistakes, government developed systems of public investment appraisal. These systems require detailed engineering assessments, environmental reviews, economic analyses, procurement plans, fiscal evaluations, and independent approvals. These are not meaningless exercises. They serve an important purpose. They help to ensure that taxpayers receive value for money. They reduce waste. They discourage corruption, they strengthen accountability, they support sound fiscal management. And so as Prime Minister, I would never advocate abandoning these principles. Indeed, Jamaica's hard-won fiscal stability has been built upon stronger discipline, better planning, and more responsible management of public resources. But there is another truth we must acknowledge. Every system can become excessively rigid. Every safeguard can become overly burdensome. Every procedure can eventually create its own cost. And those costs are often invisible. When a bridge remains closed for years, there is a cost. When a farmer must travel farther to market, there is a cost. When a student spends additional hours commuting, there is a cost. When a business incurs higher transportation expenses, it costs you. When an ambulance or emergency vehicle faces delay, there could be a cost. It could be your life. These costs do not always appear on the government's balance sheet. They are not always visible to the technocrat or bureaucrat who is implementing the procedure. Yet, these costs are borne by you every day. It is borne by the children trying to get to school, risking their lives, going down the slope, crossing the river. My challenge is that it is invisible to the people who are saying to the NWA, for example, go and do an environmental study. Go and do an economic assessment of the bridge. Everybody agrees the bridge is necessary, but the procedure requires an environmental assessment of the bridge that was here 152 years before anybody think of environmental assessment. The bridge was built to create the economy that is here, built before, long before, justified its existence. Don't need to say whether or not this bridge will create economic activity. But yet, this project had to go through all of the procedures. I can't complain, because ultimately it is the government that makes the law, and I want everybody to appreciate that the government can change the law as well. The requirements that is imposed upon the infrastructure projects sometimes cost more than the actual infrastructure construction. Don't make sense. The time it takes to do study on top of study on top of study sometimes take longer than the actual construction work itself. And I tell you, there is a thinking in our country. Don't trust yourself to double check everything 3-4 times over before you do it. And 2, if it never take long, it wasn't well done. The culture that has embedded itself in our public bureaucracy. It has gone to the point where it appears as Jamaicans, we are afraid of success. We have allowed a certain school of thought to paralyze us. When the colonial government decided after 1865 that they were going to build this bridge, they said, build the bridge. And with the bridge, the road, the irrigation, all of it was done. We as independent people, we can't figure out how to build the bridge and still be accountable and transparent at the same time. Our bureaucracy must change. Sometimes it is less effective at measuring the cost of not building quickly enough. I want you to understand that point. The system we have is quite effective at measuring the cost of building, but it is not effective at measuring the cost of not building quickly enough. It would have cost us at least 30% less if we had built this bridge 4 years ago. I wanted to think on that. So this is where reform becomes necessary. The purpose of a process is to produce a result. Unfortunately, many of our bureaucrats and technocrats and some of our politicians and many in the civil society who criticize the work of government believe that the end of a process is another process, and it has no regard for the suffering that you feel. The people who critique the government trying to move fast will never come here and hear your complaints. In fact, have you ever seen any one of them? When the process itself becomes an obstacle to result, then responsible leaders have an obligation to improve the process. The objective is not to choose between accountability and efficiency. The objective is to achieve both. That is where this government is pushing towards, achieving both accountability and efficiency. The objective is not to weaken safeguards. The objective is to make our safeguards smarter. It would have been a much smarter application of the public investment appraisal system if it was understood. A bridge was there before. The bridge was being used. The bridge supported an economy. No need to go back and do another test, another consultant. That is a smarter way of applying the rules. But when bureaucracies become self-serving, the objective is not to remove scrutiny. The objective is to ensure that scrutiny does not become paralysis. This bridge teaches us that good governance must mean more than following procedures. Good governance must also mean delivering outcomes. A modern state must be capable of asking the necessary questions without endlessly delaying the necessary answer. And this requires us to have a more mature national conversation. But when reforms are proposed to accelerate approvals, some of the same voices object. They demand urgency, but resist change. They criticize delay, but defend complexity. They speak passionately about process, but rarely acknowledge the hardship experienced by the people waiting for benefits. The people of Troy did not need an endless debate. They just simply needed a bridge. So empathy requires us to reconsider not only the risk of action, but the cost of inaction. And that is why this government is committed to reforming Jamaica's bureaucracy. We are determined to modernize our public investment and approval system. We are determined to reduce duplication. We are determined to shorten approval timelines. We are determined to create accelerated pathways for critical infrastructure projects where delay imposes significant hardships on citizens, because efficiency is not the enemy of accountability. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we have created the NARA. That is why we have created the National Agency for Reconstruction and Resilience, the NARA Authority. NARA will seek to structure projects, order them, cut unnecessary bureaucratic red tape, but at the same time gives a high level of accountability, transparency, and ensures the integrity of the processes. NARA will not only help us to recover from the hurricane and build resilience, but more importantly, NARA will show us that there is a better way to build Jamaica. There is a faster, more efficient way to bring infrastructure development to the people of the country. So this bridge stands as a symbol of resilience, but it also stands as a challenge to us as Jamaicans. You have been fed a diet by our intellectuals, our so-called thinking class, that you can't trust your government, that everything that is being done, there is something hidden behind it. You have been fed a diet which says your government is incapable. As independent people, we need to shake that off, and we need to support the effectiveness of government. We must support governments that deliver for the people. And this government has demonstrated, not a perfect government. Yes, there are problems, but you can rest assured that this government wants to deliver for you quickly and effectively. I am certain that this bridge will last another 150 years or more. But for me, this is a turning point. We are not going to allow critical infrastructure to be tied up in procedures and processes that satisfy procedures and processes and don't deliver. Let Troy be a lesson to Jamaica. This bridge now stands as a symbol of renewal, a symbol of the importance of infrastructure in national development, and perhaps most importantly, a symbol of our determination to build a Jamaica where government works not only carefully, but effectively, not only responsibly, but urgently, not only according to process, but in service of the people.
The reconstruction of the Troy Bridge stands as one of the most significant rural infrastructure projects completed in Western Jamaica in recent years. From its collapse in 2021 to its reopening in 2026, the project demonstrates the challenges and determination involved in rebuilding critical transportation links. If you enjoy this complete timeline of the Troy Bridge reconstruction, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Jamaica infrastructure updates, road projects, and construction progress reports.